Motion to accept the agenda. Rodney and Campbell. All in favor? Carried. Purpose of this meeting is to review and consider the 2015 budget for the Township of North Huron. So, I think Donna, give the numbers.
Thank you, Reeve Vincent, and welcome to everyone, and thank you for coming out tonight to the budget meeting. Council and staff have been working on the 2015 budget for several months. We've had 3 public meetings to date, and tonight I would like to present the highlights of the 2015 budget. There are many parts to the budget to consider when compiling it. We have revenues, expenses, operations, future projects, sales, and many more details. As outlined in the strategic plan, we determined what is important to North Huron, and the main topics are economic development, communication and citizen engagement, fiscal responsibility and operational excellence, healthy and safe communities, and we value and protect our natural environment. There are 4 main steps to the budget process, which we will talk about in a little more detail. We have planning, implementation, monitoring, and evaluation as shown on the diagram. First is the planning stage. The budget process is complex and lengthy. We review priorities from council, we take into account grants and projects, and as each of you can imagine, it becomes a more and more difficult process each year, requiring a great amount of teamwork. The department heads start gathering the information in the fall, and the budget is a starting point. There's various cuts and changes to get us to the point of passing the budget. Many factors are incorporated into the budget: increased costs, inflation, priorities, decreased funding, end target, previous actual costs. We simply don't just add the cost of inflation 2% and call it a day. The SMT go through line by line and evaluate all expenses and revenues. There's never an end to any of the projects that need to be completed. When one is finished, there's always a long list of others to complete. It's just a matter of priority and urgency. Secondly is the implementation phase, and this translates the budget numbers into action. The budget is an estimate, and we still try to get the best price throughout the year and evaluate any projects before we proceed. Thirdly is the monitoring phase. This is a continuous process that doesn't stop with the passing of the budget. Council receives quarterly reports for their year to date. Department heads receive those monthly, and myself and my staff review them weekly and on an ongoing basis. Finally, there is the evaluation phase. We evaluate current operations and procedures and make any changes for the next year. And we file our various annual reports with the ministries that we are required. We have many challenges during the budget process. This year, for example, we had increased OPP costs under the new funding formula. That resulted in an increase for the Blythe and East Wawanosh OPP costings of $23,750. The ongoing reduction of our OMPF funding this year, we had a decrease of $99,600, which equates to 2.25%. Increased utility cost, and just as a note, our basic utilities cost us $682,289 a year. We have increased wage and benefits cost, shifting of tax burdens, declining industrial and commercial values, and increased farmland values in our East Wawanosh ward. And we're going to see that at the end when we look at our final results. We're grappling with our infrastructure deficit, and we're struggling to maintain existing programs and services. In 2014, however, we did purchase the used fire aerial truck and a new trailer. We did get some tar and chip on Reed Road. For Carling Terrace, there was a storm drain and sidewalk work in front of the hospital. Dawn was able to purchase a used combo vac truck for the sewer department. Ongoing roof repairs at the complex and the renovations to the squash courts. The Blythe well upgrades were ongoing and will continue in 2015 and 16. Public Works had some new equipment, or new to them. There was a used plow truck and an asphalt recycler. The police got their fingerprint unit. With the help of some donations, we were able to change out the Olympia at the Blythe Arena. There was the boiler upgrade at the museum and some fire upgrades. As well, we put out an RFP for our external audit. And of course, in the fall, we had the municipal election. The 2015 budget, our overall spending increase in dollars is $99,294.46, which equates to a 2.24% increase in spending. The total expenses in this budget is $12,503,880. Our amounts that we raise on taxation is $4,530,273. And that's broken down into $3,203,000 raised from the base rate and $1,320,000 raised from area rating. And we also get $5,915 from the flat rate streetlight charges in the hamlets. Water and sewer service has no effect on the tax rate. It's fully funded by the user fees. But we certainly kept in mind the 5-year increase plan that we have for the water and sewer rates this year while we were compiling the rest of the budget, since there is only one taxpayer. We did conduct that extensive rate review in 2014, and it was in place and implemented January 1st of 2015. So just to elaborate a bit on the special area rates, so we collected $1,081,000 for Wingham Police and street lighting. In Blythe, $144,000 for OPP policing and street lighting. East Wawanash, $94,926 for OPP policing. And on behalf of the BIAs, through their levies, we will collect $6,600 for Blythe and $25,000 for Wingham. Some highlights or facts to note: a 1% increase generates $44,309. Based on our average assessment of $156,250 for the average residential single-family dwelling, in Wingham, we will end up with an increase of about $12.97. Blythe will be $37.46, and East Wawanash $21.35. Of course, we are a service provider, so $5,477,219 is what we spend on wages and benefits. That equates to 43.8% of our total budget, and it varies by department, and the number of full-time and part-time varies by season, but we usually average around 51 full-time and 55 part-time, and that does include council honorarium. Our total capital spending this year is just over $1 million, but that does include putting money into reserves for various capital projects which will be completed at a later date. Just like at home, sometimes we have to save up for a couple of years in order to be able to have enough money to proceed with a project. So some of the items continued in the 2015 budget. The police department got some workstation and carbines, that's the rifles. The EST facility had some upgrades. Public Works are doing some sidewalks, tar and chip on Long Creek Road, 2 new pickup trucks, and broom and blade replacement. They're also working on Mill Street this year. And as you know, we have applied for Mill Street funding under every grant that ever came out. And so to this date, we have not been successful. So that project was to be a 2-phase project, which we have now divided down. It could turn out to be 4 phases. So this year, the work will be just done on the outlet. There'll be no street work done. and it will be the work heading towards the riverbank. So that's what's going to be done this year. For street light replacement with LED lighting, Kelly is conducting a trial in the hamlet, so he's going to be replacing some LED lighting in Auburn, Whitechurch, and Hutton Heights. At the daycare, they're in need of some repairs to their parking lot. For the sewer department, there's some camera replacement, the Blythe sewage treatment plant clarifier, work on Patrick Street and Francis Street. In the water department, they're going to pay their share of Patrick Street. Their SCADA system needs an upgrade. They have new meter reading equipment, and of course the ongoing work at the Blythe well. And as I mentioned before, we were successful in getting some funding through OCIF for the Blythe well upgrade. Out at the Wingham Cemetery, we're looking for a new mower and some repairs to the chapel. In the parks, also a tractor, some signage, and a mower. Under the various facilities, ongoing work at the complex roof, some work over at the library for the windows, museum, fire upgrades, and flooring. And a lot of money will go into reserves again, as I said, to save up for various projects. So as you know, we have a $500,000 commitment to Memorial Hall in Blythe. We put in $75,000 last year. This is our second $75,000. So that gives us the $150,000. I'm hoping next year when the construction actually takes place that we'll be able to include $100,000, which would get us half of our commitment. Pat's put some money away for the ongoing repairs to save up to be able to do another batch of repairs on this town hall. There is research being undertaken for the pool liner, and Kelly's trying to save up some money for replacing equipment out of the landfill. We still have a lot of debt. So at December 31st, we owe $2,386,575. And that is made up of the rink grant, which we borrowed to do, most of it was for the paving at the complex. We borrowed $1.2 million to build the EST center, $242,000 for the grader. When we bought our fire partners out, we had to borrow $838,000 for some road projects, $293,000. So for our 2015 budget, our total debt payments is $249,799. So that's principal of $159 and interest of $90,000. So we have to make sure that we can meet our debt obligations before we can consider any other projects. I know this printing is very small and hard to read, but this is actually a couple of examples of actual tax bills in each ward. So in the Wingham ward, for example, the top one there, comparing to last year, the assessment this year is $137,250. Last year it was $132,500. So this property would see a very minimal increase of $23.01. The next property has assessment of $162,250, up from $157,500. Again, a nominal increase of $9.81. Blythe is much the same. This property has increased from $107,500 in assessment to $110,250. So overall, this property would see $16.22. In East Wallinosh, a farmhouse sitting on a farm would only see a very small increase of $1.38. But as I alluded to earlier, one of the big shifts we have seen in this 4-year assessment cycle is the shift to farmland and the huge increase in assessment. So this particular one has over a 12% increase in assessment, and then that equates to an increase of $172. So we saw that last year, we're seeing it this year, and we'll see it the next 2 years of this phase of the assessment cycle. I always put this slide in, why are taxes so high? We've gone over this many times. We all know why the taxes are high. It's just a matter of what we can do to to correct that and monitor that. So again, the wide range of facilities and programs usually provided by a much larger municipality, low overall taxable assessment, low average assessment, especially pertaining to older homes, low population base, which taxes aren't based on population, but it all fits into the picture, and of course our geography and location. So again, on the assessment topic, this is the 2015 taxable assessment, and we have now dropped to the lowest taxable assessment in the county. So you will see us over there at the far right. So again, it contributes to the reasoning why we are finding it so difficult to maintain all the programs and services that we currently offer. However, oh, sorry, Trevor.
So, yeah. Dawn, can you elaborate or maybe explain a little bit on what, if anything, we can do to change the taxable assessment? Like, is there anything the municipality or that can change that from, it seems like now we're the lowest in Huron County. What is it that we can do, if anything, to change that?
Well, of course, the attraction of new businesses and any new buildings, of course, that puts the assessment up for sure. One of the things that we've kicked around a bit is the fact that our newer homes, for whatever reason, are assessed at the top of the max, and I know that the newer homes will complain about that. But we see all kinds of older homes that have been totally renovated inside through not needing a building permit, and there's a lot of added value in flooring and windows and cupboards and such that don't need building permits. So what happens is it takes quite a while on a cycle for that sale price, which could be $50,000 or $60,000 more than what the assessment is, to go through the 4-year cycle and right itself. So we have talked about you'd almost have to hire a tax consultant on your behalf and go around and actually the municipality appeal the assessments on some of these older homes. So that is one option, not very desirable, but it is one that we can do. And then also, as I said, to attract, all the new buildings, any new buildings that we get are certainly welcome. So.
Thanks.
Okay. So, however, though, properties are selling, and that's something that we do monitor because we do get a lot of comments about that. So in 2014, we had 100 properties sell. The sale value was $22,547,000. We had a lot of nominal values for sales, which I do not include. Those are ones that are correcting the title for $1 or whatever. So those aren't included. It is down from 2013, where we had 120 sales and 30 million, but in 2013 we had some farms out in East Wawanosh sell for some pretty big dollars. You see the difference there, 14 million as opposed to 9. So there's quite a bit of the difference right there. So we are encouraged that the properties are still selling, which is good news. I'm not going to elaborate on this, what do we spend your money on. I think most of you have seen this slide before. But I just wanted to point out and remind you that we have 49 budgets that we have that make up the 2015 North Huron budget. So there's a lot of work to work our way through each one of those budgets and compile them into one large document. So it's definitely a lot of work to get to the end. Where does the money go? So I have calculated out here for you, 58.10% stays here in the municipality, 26.63% goes to the county, and 15.27% goes to the various boards of education. So that translates to the municipal portion of $4,524,000, The county, we send them $2,073,000, and the school boards added up, we send them $1,188,000. So if we take a look at that further though, so out of every dollar, 60.95 cents comes from Wingham Ward, 17.48% or cents comes from Blythe, and 21.57 comes from East Wawandosh. So again, if you look at the allocations between the base rate, the area rate, the county rate, and the education rate, with the base rate being the blue, you can see that yes, most of the tax dollars are collected on the base rate. But Wingham has the largest area rate, and Blythe and East Wawandosh have very minimal amounts, which is their policing, and Blythe has street lighting generated through that area rate. So in those two wards, we send more to the county based on the overall picture there. So if you strictly look at our budget expenses by percentage, you would see that environmental services is our highest at 21.64. Second would be protection to person and property at 21.6. Third would be parks at 18.12. Then we have transportation at 15.02. And we have general government at 8.94, social and family at 7.89, cultural, economic development and planning at 5.92, and health services the smallest at less than 1%. And just as a side note, these categories you see over and over by every municipality, because these are the categories or groupings set out by the Ministry of Municipal Affairs, and that's how we are required to compile our data, our expenses, and our revenue based on these categories. So that's why you see those categories all the time. However, if you look at many of the areas have offsetting revenues, and so then that completely changes how the picture looks when you look at the total expense versus the net expense. So when you looked on a strictly expense basis, environmental was the highest, and now it's one of the lowest. And that's because water and sewer are offset completely by user fees, and the landfill waste is in that section, and there also are a number of fees there. So you can see that on a net expense basis, it is considerably lower. So the highest one then now flips to protection services, and the second one, transportation, and the third one then would be recreation facilities and parks. So it just gives you a little bit of a different spin as to what the offsetting revenues add to the department end of the line total. So some fast facts. So we maintained 167.1 kilometers of road, 32 kilometers of sidewalk. We treated 1,044,000 cubic meters of wastewater. We pumped 566 cubic meters of water. We had 36,495 visits to the aquatic center, 20,516 visits to the fitness center. At the complex, they averaged 70 hours of ice usage per week. In Blythe, they averaged 55.75 hours of ice usage per week. We had 29,883 children in attendance at the child care programs. We issued 59 building permits. We recycled 476.46 metric tons of material. And the Wingham Police had 1,318 calls with a clearance rate of 94.8%. So that just gives you a little bit of insight into what a busy year we had last year. Yes, Brock?
I never noticed this before, but on our list of priorities, right at the beginning of the presentation, economic development is right at the top of the list. On that chart that you just showed us, it's right at the bottom of the list. It's included in cultural, economic development, that sort of thing, 5.9%.
for the percentage of
So the
expenditures.
resources that we are exerting to it don't relate to the level of importance in our overall expenditure. Just an observation. I don't know how you actualize that,
Mhm.
or whether money is the solution in that. It just seems to be a disjoint.
For sure. Okay, so one of the next projects that we need to tackle is, of course, asset management. And we've talked about the asset management for the last couple of years, and we will be continuing to talk about it for many years into the future. So as you know, we have phase 1 of our asset management posted on our website as we were required. Phase 2 is what we're working on. That's going to add approximately $50 million more in replacement costs, and that will include buildings, fleet, machinery and equipment, and land improvements. So in our first valuation, our core assets were valued at $141 million. And in order to be able to plan to replace those assets at end of life, we need to create a financing strategy and a long-term basis. In some studies, capital infrastructure is a link to quality of life, competitiveness, and economic development. We have to take a look at capital levies, prioritization, and education. And we'll definitely have to use a combination of debt, user fees, and pay as you go. So a few projects to the top underway for 2015, of course, is the outlet work for the Mill Street project in Blythe, the Memorial Hall renovations for the 14-19 campaign in Blythe. We are working as a partner for the Alice Munro Writers and Readers Festival and the Labor Market Partnership Project that's underway this year. We're working as a partner in the Industrial Land Strategy with Morris Turnberry. We are looking for some cemetery improvements, and again, I've mentioned a few times, one of Don's big priorities this year is the new well for the water supply in Blythe, and again, we were fortunate enough to receive a grant for that. So what's ahead? Over this term of council, we have many tough decisions to be made. We're going to have to use all our planning, strategizing, evaluating, and prioritization techniques in order to be able to work through this year and to come up with a good plan for next year and beyond to the end of the term for sure. So at this point, I just wanted to thank council and staff and all of those who have been attending the public budget meetings. And I certainly am always willing to hear from you or take some time to answer your questions. So there's my contact information up there. And at this point, I would just like to ask if there are any questions that myself or the senior staff or council could help you with and answer before we close.
Are there any questions from council? Okay, I'll go to public gallery, press, and Joe. Pauline?
I'd like to get a copy.
Of my PowerPoint?
Yeah.
Oh, I can just email you.
Okay.
And he wants one too?
All my speaking notes are not there, but the PowerPoint itself is there, so you're certainly welcome to that. Okay, I'll email it to you tomorrow. Anything else from anyone else? If not, thank you, and we'll carry on with the rest of the meeting. And thank you, everyone, for all your hard work.
Motion for adjournment of this public budget. Trevor and Ray. All in favor? Carried? Okay. Call the regular council meeting to order. And there's some small amendments. Um, And there is a staff report on the gravel tenders to add, as well as the, when the bylaws were done, that there was 3 of them that were supposed to be a 5-year term. 2018 and 2019 were omitted as they were quoted in what was sent out to us, that it's for a 5-year term rather than a 3-year term. With those amendments, do I have a mover? Campbell and Bodden. All in favor? Carried. Declaration of pecuniary interest, if any. None noted. Approval of the previous minutes of the regular council meeting held April 7th.
So moved.
Same, and, Amanda. That's what, Amanda. Got it. All in favor? Carried. No deputations? Okay. Well, for the Reeves report, but there's always meetings going on and one thing or another. That I have registered for a conference at Conference Center, One Stone Road, on rural development and research knowledge exchange for the 8th of May. I did that through the county to save township money. So that, and that there's a number of other things that keep happening. That we are having, I'll say, for ease of terminology, a brainstorming session this week for council to look at possibilities and work on a few things that I think that should be enlightening, and that we should do that every short while rather than leaving it too long, because you sometimes get going down a road that you need to make a turn on. So I'll leave my Reeves report at that. On the 9th and 10th, the county did basically a priority setting session where the facilitator managed to find 57 things the councilors, county council said they should be working on. We distilled that down to 12 and developed a priority as to when we would try tackling that 12 priority issues. I think it was a very beneficial process that we went through, and I haven't brought it in for staff to take a look at, but I do have the template that I will be bringing in for staff to look at the township level, and that all lower tiers were invited to look at it. If they could make use of it, go ahead. That was part of what the county process was. Moving to 6.3, financial report. And do we have questions on the finance? Trevor?
So yeah, I have a list of questions.
Okay.
Page 2, the one for AIG insurance, it's for VFIS insurance. Can you clarify what that is? I'm assuming you do.
Certainly. VFIS is an insurance policy for our fire personnel so that should they become injured in training or in fire activities, insures their income and provides coverage. Our policy is consistent with every other department actually at this point in the county. And I don't want to say it's a selling feature of the department, but we just like to be able to provide peace of mind to our families and our spouses that should we get hurt, we're not going to starve them to death.
Okay, thank you. Page 5, confined space rescue.
We run a program for confined space rescue awareness, and then in turn we hire the contractor and then in turn sell that course to other students.
So this is the cost. We actually did
That's our cost.
cost. We actually recovered some.
We made a profit on it.
That's good. Page 8. Marx Brothers. Is this an incident where we had an incident? Looks like GMC 1 half-ton repair, rental, and repair to a Mercedes. Did we run into something?
We didn't. We did run into one, and the other one, the sign fell down on Main Street and landed on top of the Mercedes.
This sign. Which sign?
One of the arms broke off on first downtown, and KG Electronics.
Really?
That landed on top of the Mercedes, and the other one was in front of Presbyterian Church when we were cleaning the sidewalk off.
Okay.
And the sidewalk unit got too close.
Okay. Page 9. Can somebody tell me what LSR billing? What does LSR mean? OPP LSR billing. What is that? Is that a short form for something?
Local Services Realignment, that's our OPP billing that we pay to the Minister of Finance for Blythe and East Wall and Oshawa on a monthly basis.
Local service realignment, that's what it's called? Okay. Page 11, where it says simply assembly, I'm assuming this is for fitness inspections. Is this all of them, or is this just a portion of them?
Okay, so that is our supplier of fitness equipment maintenance, preventative maintenance and maintenance. So they come, I want to say 3 times a year, but it might be quarterly. I'd have to confirm that. And they do repairs. And then if there's specific things that need fixed, they do that as well.
So it's not necessarily inspections, it's actual maintenance.
Correct.
Okay.
Well, yeah, they do a complete inspection of all of the equipment, do the preventative maintenance, and then repair anything that needs repaired as well. But they check all the equipment. So that's why it's referred to as an inspection.
And last one I have is more of it's not necessarily a question about the actual expenses, but more of a conversation is we rent mats from Swan Dust and whoever else. Have we ever looked at whether it would be more economical to actually buy our own mats and service them as opposed to renting mat from them?
I haven't priced that out in a long time. So no, I would have to say I haven't got any data on that right now.
Okay. That's all, thanks.
Other councillors? Okay. Do I have somebody to move accounts in the amount of $379,450?
So
Trevor and Ray? All in favor? Carried. Moving to health and safety, self-explanatory unless there's questions. Moving to Director of Corporate Services Clerk, 6.4.2. There's the child care fee increase schedule. Is there any questions or comments? The report says it all, Kathy. Trevor, are you moving? or
No, I'm actually have a question.
Question?
So I have a question with regards to, I understand what the increase is. I guess my question is, when we look at what the overall cost of infant, toddler, preschool, do these costs line up with what the market is willing to bear? Like, are we costing this because this is what we think is gonna be affordable to families, or is this what we're costing that's comparable to other, whether it be municipalities or private units or what?
Other childcare centers.
Other-
We try to keep our prices in line with other centers,
So we review other childcare, okay.
for sure.
Mover, Gordon, and seconder? All in favor? Carried. This is Director of Finance, and it's a presentation of the 2015 budget. This is just the motion that council hereby approves the 2015 budget. Mover, Wyden, and Site. Any questions? All in favor? Carried. Count, so, brainstorming, session forum. That's 22nd. Anything extra on it right now, or?
Yes, just that it's this Wednesday at 5 p.m. And so I'm looking for 3 more of you to return your sheets tonight in order to be able to compile those tomorrow. So
That's
perfect. So if 3 of you would send them to me, give them to me tonight before you go, that'd be great.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. 6.4.4, Director of Recreation and Facilities. There's a staff report on the Children's Center flooring. It was pretty well described in the package. Any questions from council?
No, really, I just, the request here is to use the negotiated method and select Stapleton Interiors as the supplier, and I'm looking for a motion for that.
Seconder? All in favor? Just first, question?
So Pat, just so I'm clear, the removal costs being that they're unknown, will they come back to this table to tell us what the cost approximately will be at some point? Or is that in your budget, or how does that, how are we gonna know that?
Well, I guess I absolutely can bring that back, and with that, I would bring back what our plan for 2015 and how much we can remove and replace. So until I know the removal cost and I know the budget and I know the cost, then we can look at the square footage of the different spaces and let you guys know how much we can do in 2015 and our goal for 2016 and 17. I guess my question would be, do I need to wait to move forward on the project till I bring those prices back? But I definitely can bring that information back in an activity report for sure.
No, I don't see that we need to hold the project. I think it's just information that would be nice to have to, at some point, tell us what the removal of that is. Because I'm assuming that Children's Center isn't the only place that has this cross-floor abatement removal issue. So we might have this, we might be able to look at this cost at a later date to know what other facilities have too.
It's one of the only ones that has a floor that needs to be replaced. Some of them are, the basement of this building has a small area that has tiles that probably will never ever need to be moved. But this is something, yes, we will be able to use this The challenge being is they have to remove it with using no power tools. So each floor is somewhat unique in how stuck is it?
Yeah.
Or is how easy is it gonna lift up? And that's the unknown, and as soon as we have that, we'll have a per square foot price, exactly.
Okay, Bill?
The recommended statement, have you received prices from anyone else?
On the flooring, no. They've been one supplier that's been able to meet all of the other criteria, though, being able to work on weekends, evenings, and being able to have the certification to remove. But in our other experiences, their flooring pricing has always been competitive with the other ones in the area.
So no, we just got the statement, we have not put this out and asked for quotations from any of the local suppliers.
That is specifically what the request is tonight, is to use the negotiated method, which means just going to one supplier instead of doing a tender or a quote process because of the unique circumstances of this project.
Any other comments from council? All those in favor? Carried.
Kind of request is to make a note that I'm not in favor, please. Okay.
So noted.
Thank you.
Okay, moving to 6.4.6, utility department. And is there any questions on the water department report?
I just have a couple little updates.
Okay.
So to do with the new well in Blythe, we've received the results of the resample, and the new well is actually below the trigger. Well, 1 was below the trigger, but well 2 is actually above the 2. So we're trying to sort out what the next steps are going to be. Ministry of Environment have got some draft protocol for these 3 flag things, because it's really not definitive right now. So we'll just have to keep you posted on how that's progressing.
But is that mostly radon gas?
Well, no, it probably is not radon gas, because we didn't specifically test for it. It's a volatile gas, and there's a little specific things going to have to do with it. But it more than likely is a radium. It's fairly typical in the area here. The thing that kind of not concerns me, but is how much it's deviating from the sample. In my email, I kind of stated it was kind of an expensive way to get an average of what it is. So anyway, we're working through that. I think MOE may even, since it's a draft protocol right now, they may even actually do the analysis for us, which represents if we have to do the specific species, it's like about an $850 testing regime that they do. So I'm hopeful that they would do that for us. So that's a bonus. Yeah, and the EA is going to be issued shortly, perhaps by the end of the week here. We will post it. There's a 30-day comment period for it before it's final. So in the hydrogy report, again, it should go at the end of the week here too. So we'll get that posted up for anybody who wishes to view it on the website. Yeah.
Sorry, Don.
Sure.
EA.
Oh, sorry, yeah, it's the
Environmental
environmental assessment.
Thank you.
Yeah, which is, it's the planning document. You basically lay out what your problems are and all the options that you can think of, and go through each option to see which one is the best. So that's basically what the EA is.
So I guess the other question I have is that, are these samples that we're taking that are showing some issues, there's no concern to the ratepayer? Like, there's no concern to said person in Goliath about drinking the water?
No, it's, yeah, like these thresholds are really low and what they do, they set the threshold at the least amount of any of there's 200 different things that it can derive from. So they set that threshold at the lowest point. So any one of, as long as you've got a couple of different components that are adding to that, then you will be under the limit. We went through this in 2003 as well. And yes, when we did the specific sampling, everything was fine.
Okay.
Yeah. So I'm hopeful that it will be good there and everything's good go. One of the things I think is the request for proposals to, I want to switch consultants to a local consultant. Just the long distance relationship is really difficult at times, especially at this point in time when they need to come and do some site visits and that kind of thing during the treatment design phase. So I think it would be to our best interest to actually get a local engineer just so that the travel costs aren't there for us. So anyway, that's something that I think we'll maybe discuss that a little bit further, perhaps on Wednesday with at the meeting there. So, and there's just one last happy note. All our water services are now stopped. So.
Just no one wants it. Okay, we need a motion to accept the report of the chief operator as presented. On and not. All in favor? Carried. Okay, there's a staff report on the NASM plan for removal of sludge at the Wyndham sewage treatment plant. And you're moving, James. Moved by Deputy Campbell. Councilor Allen, seconds. Is there any questions on this? Okay. All in favor? Carried. Okay. And there's a staff report on alternate locate agreement with Bell Canada. Ray, do you have a question?
Well, it's just my only question was, what is different, John, than what we were doing to what we were planning to do?
Well, right now, so if there's a line damaged, a bell line, and they want it repaired, since the legislation doesn't define communication lines as an essential service, they would have to go into the regular protocol where it takes at least a 5-day window to actually get the locates before they can even put a shovel in. So what this does, this allows them to just, if they've got a problem, they can dig it with a shovel under 12 inches deep and do the repair like right then and there. We don't need to make a return trip. We don't need to go and locate our services. So it's really a win-win for everybody. Yeah, I think likely we'll still get ding with a notification from Ontario One call. Like eventually, like, I mean, that's still a free service. I'm not sure when they actually start billing for that, but it's $2.35 for a notice. But now we will still know that they're working in the area because we will be getting notice saying Velvet. That's really the end of it.
Do I have a motion?
So moved.
And Yolanda? All in favor? Carried. 6.4.7, Fire Department of North Huron, there's the department update. Is there any questions? Everything? Oh, James.
How was our call going compared to last year, or can we compare to last year?
Well, as a perspective, last year by the end of January, we had 25 calls. And as of this weekend, we were at about 51. So we're running much more on a normal call volume. That being said, in the last 5 days, we've had 6 working fires. So, maybe a quick catch up, I'm not sure, but generally speaking, we've sort of returned to a more normal traditional call volume.
Thank you, David. Did you have anything else?
Just one comment. You notice we talked about the rope assisted search, and what that really is that if we have an incident at Westcast or Howson's or somewhere that's a large facility or a facility that's very complex to find your way around, rope assisted search is a rope bag with rope in it that's got knots and beads on it that tell the firefighter how far in they are. And it's designed to attach to their gear so it will just flake off as they go in the building without them having to handle the rope. And if for some reason they wonder where they are, something's gone wrong, they can count the beads and they'll radio back them at bead number 3, which means they're 150 feet in. Because one of our concerns with some of our larger facilities in our protection areas is if there is an incident that's in the middle of the structure and there's smoke, it'd be very easy for our personnel to get disoriented or get lost. And with this, it allows us to send people in securely into facilities otherwise would be reluctant to do.
Okay, thank you. Nothing on unfinished business. Okay. Looking at the gravel tender report. Follow the recommendation. Okay. And Ray, you're seconding?
Yes.
Is there any questions on this?
I was that question for you knew I was going to ask you.
Sure. And I have, last year, the difference between the two that bid on the same contract was 97 cents difference between the two contractors last year, and this year it's 33 cents. So we were a little concerned about the hauling and the line because we're using our own pit to do the north half of the township. So it works out to 94 cents per ton difference from the last time that we did. So there is an increase because of the trucking. Still within the budget.
Okay. If there's no further questions, all in favor? Carried. Moving to 8.1, new business, the West Ontario Inc. special shareholder resolution, a confirmation of directors. So basically, Bart Cameron is the one that we have power to take care of. I'm taking for granted that these other guys represent the other 8 municipalities
I would say
involved.
so.
Do I have a motion? Trevor and Brock? All in favor? Carried. 8.2, there's the request by the chair of East Wanash 150 for the council to consider declaring East Wanash 150 as a committee of council.
So,
Okay. Any seconds? Is there any discussion? We have to appoint a representative as well.
Should have done a second motion. Reincorporating as one term, incorporating as one. Can you make an addendum? You have to make an addendum to the motion.
It's actually,
It's,
Wow.
the way it's printed, it's included
So you have to
in
pick someone.
the recommended motion.
That's just
I'll second.
It looks like the railroad, if you will accept it.
Those names Ray, not Reverend.
Thank you, Ray.
Yeah, understand. Another meeting tomorrow.
Yes.
And they seem like a good turn of volunteers, so. Thank you.
Okay. Did
Second.
I do all in favor of that?
it was part of the original motion we brought.
Oh, so you
But all in favor? Okay, moving to point 9, council information. Is there any points that council would like to bring forward?
Yes, I believe so.
Brock?
9.4. I was really pleased to see that our MPP, Lisa Thompson, is not only using the rural lens in making comments to people on projects, but she's also promoting the use of the rural lens for other people who are perhaps not aware of it. It included a lot of the background information on the process.
Okay. Is there any other points that people would like to bring forward? Trevor?
I'll move that the agree to the correspondence be awarded read and filed.
Okay. Do I have a second? Amanda? Anything further? All in favor? Carried. Nothing significant with correspondence. Okay. For committee reports, there's applied BIA minutes from April 1st. And is there any questions on that? or anything to add? Bill? Okay. Okay, moving to 12.1, bylaw number 28, 2015.
The BIA now have their reporter, Lisa Scott, their contract has expired. That's correct. What are they going to do? Are they going to?
Ashley Scott, not recently, Ashley Scott. What are they going to do?
Are they going to hire another person, or what are they going, is this going to be more work for Connie?
No. In addition to the workload, Ashley has said that she will, on a voluntary basis, continue to do some of the Facebook and Twitter updating, and possibly some website information. However, until funding is found, there is no way to pay her. So unless we can find a funding source, grant for whatever, then we will not be replacing that individual. The only, now that you mentioned, it will make me know one of the things. This can, Elliot brought up the signage in Blind. And I'm not sure how many people here are aware of the sign. You've seen the, as they refer to as toggle signs and wayfaring signs that are there that are in sad condition. Best guess now, I think they're approximately almost 10 years old. But that they were a project originally in a big group. Why Mr. Elliott's asking me why they didn't put signs in the corner of Queen and the side streets, I don't know, because he was involved in the project, so he should be able to answer his own question. But that being said, I've actually given some sign samples to Ken Blood Printing, is looking into the possibility of just trying to, is there a way to repair those signs and make them more presentable without spending a huge amount of money, because it would be a very expensive project. So, in case anyone was worried about that, that's all that's happened at this point in time. Ken's going to give me some ideas, potential costs. And we can decide whether or not the BIA can raise funds to take care of it.
Okay. Okay, we'll go back to bylaw number 28, 2015, being a bylaw to authorize the regional clerk to sign on behalf of council a lease agreement between the corporation of the township of North Huron and the Barn Dance Historical Society for the lease of the basement of the North Huron Museum to be introduced, read a first and second time. Do I have a mover? Bill? And James? All in favor? Okay. And bylaw number 28, 2015. It's basically for the lease of the basement of the North Huron Museum to be read a third and final time, signed by the Reeve clerk, and to be endorsed in the bylaw book.
So moved.
Rod and Hallahan. All in favor? Carried. Bylaw number 29, 2015, being a bylaw to authorize the Reeve clerk to sign on behalf of council a service contract agreement between the corporation of the township of North Huron and Simcoe Refrigeration to provide refrigeration, preventive maintenance, and emergency repair and maintenance services at the Blythe Community Center and at the North Huron West Gas Community Complex located in the township of North Huron to be introduced, read a first and second time. Yolanda and Bill. All in favor? Carried. Okay. And that bylaw number 29 will be read a third and final time, signed by the Reeve clerk and engrossed in the bylaw book.
So moved.
Wadden and Syke. All in favor? Carried. And bylaw number 30th, 2015, being a bylaw to authorize the Region Clerk to sign on behalf of the council an agreement between the corporation of the Township of North Huron and Millstone Crop Services for maintaining and operating a radio repeater tower to be introduced and read a first and second time. Bill and Trevor? All in favor? Carried. And that bylaw number 30 to be read the third and final time, signed by the Region Clerk and engrossed in the bylaw book. Rodden and Allan? All in favor? Carried. Bylaw number 31, 2015, a bylaw to authorize the Region Clerk to sign on behalf of council a land lease agreement between the corporation of the Township of North Huron and Robert Warwick for the lease of lands at 20 Crawford Drive, Hutton Heights for 2015, 16, 17, 18, and 19 to be introduced, read a first and second time. James and Brock? All in favor? Bylaw 31 to be read the third and final time, signed by the Region Clerk and engrossed in the bylaw book. Trevor and Yolanda? All in favor? Carried. Bylaw number 32, did you want to speak to that one, Donna?
Yes, please do. So again, the years there, it's a 5-year, so it should also be 2015, 16, 17, 18, 19. So that small correction needs made. And also, the tenant for this property has requested that a clause be added, as you can see on page 4 of the agreement that's for the 7 acres. So what he's asking is that if the property that he is also renting at Hutton Heights happens to get sold, it doesn't make any sense for him to have this much smaller 7-acre piece. So there is a revision in there under Article 17 for the termination that the landlord agrees that if a piece of land also rented by this tenant known as Hutton Heights to 20 Crawford Street is sold before the expiration of the term of this lease, the tenant would have the option to terminate this lease agreement. So it seems reasonable. So I just wanted to bring that to your attention. Other than that, the agreements are the same, other than the descriptions.
Bill's moving forward on the first and second reading. And for the third and final reading, Bill and James. And that includes having that extra clause in. All in favor? Carried. But bylaw number 33, 2015, being a bylaw to authorize the Region Clerk to sign on behalf of council a land lease agreement between the council, between the corporation of the Township of North Huron and Calvin Metcalf for the lease of lands at the Lincoln Cemetery property, 90379 Holmes Line. And this is for 2015, 16, 17, 18, and 19. Read the first time. Wadden and Sight. All in favor? Carried. And that bylaw 33 being read a third and final time, signed by the Region Clerk and engrossed in the bylaw book. Sight, and let's speak to Dana. All in favor? Carried. Bylaw number 34, 2015, being a bylaw to authorize the Region Clerk to sign on behalf of council a locate protocol agreement. Alternate locate agreement between the Corporation of the Township of North Huron and Bell Canada. We introduced and read first and second time. Callahan and Knott. All in favor? Carried. And that bylaw 34, read the third and final time, signed by the Lincoln Clerk and endorsed in the bylaw book. Knott and Sight. All in favor? Carried. Council reports and inquiries. Please.
Is there anything more on the land out of the landfill that we were looking for someone to lease?
Both Dawn and I are looking at following up with the gentleman that has that property, or is using the property.
Okay.
Still.
Yeah, hopefully we'll have a good report for the next.
Okay. Right.
Going back to that, property out of the cemetery is not really used for productive land, is that right? No. Okay.
I thought tonight I would bring up, so I received in the mail back in the later part of March, a letter that is signed by the Wingham Business and Area, Wingham and Area business owners. And it has to do with, I guess, issues that they're having with the Huron, with a member of the Huron County Board of Health. Basically, I won't go into specifics, but basically it's basically saying how this particular individual is acting inappropriate and basically overpowering of their duties as sold by the health unit. This has no, I did give this letter to Yolanda to take to the Wingham BIA. It is not affiliated with the Wingham BIA in any shape or form. It is not signed by any individual or any actual business. It just says Wingham and business owners. They're basically, what they're asking is if there's anything that we can do to help them basically get a new health inspector. So in this particular case, I'm saying, I just thought it would be interesting for council to know that this letter is out there. I will provide a copy of this letter to Kathy to have it on file with the township. But I'm not in a position, or I don't think the council here is in any position or appetite to look to the Huron County Health Unit to try to change things with, especially when we don't know who they are. It's not an actual group that is associated to the municipality, and we don't know who they are. So I just thought it was interesting. I thought I would bring a product here, and I will provide a copy of it to the municipality in case they come back and wonder if anything has been done. But until I hear back from them, there's nothing more I'm going to do. And me and Yolanda have talked about this, and the BIA is not going to approach this at all either. So I just wanted to give that information to the council in case you happen to hear things that with regards to this particular event. Sorry, I have another one. I will say I will have an update on the bridges committee that I have been sitting on for the last couple of months. I will say that this particular group is struggling. They're struggling with no chair for this particular group. They're trying to find volunteers within the municipality to take on this fundraising campaign in order to get the playground and the soccer field and the track and all that stuff with regards to this project. But they are having some difficulty recruiting and getting getting a chair. So I just wanted to give an update as to I have been sitting on that and giving some feedback as to what the strategy is going forward. We're still in a planning stage on what they've been going without a chair for quite some time. So we're trying to figure out what the next options are. And my last one is, I will say, I had the privilege of joining Richard on my own little roads tour through health and safety to go and look at all of the facilities within the municipality last Monday. I will say from all of the facilities that I've seen, I would say most of them are in definite working, look good. They're nothing to be real earth-shattering about. And anything that has been, that is earth-shattering, the municipality staff and we already know. So it's not, I didn't see anything that would change my mind with regards to how we prioritize the budget. And I think there's some tweaks and things that we could do, but I think overall, I think it was a good learning process for me, and it's going to be even more of a learning process when I ask Don all the questions I want to ask him about water. But I will say that it was a good learning process for me. I think it'll be a great learning process for Yolanda, and I think all of the counselors go back out there and see what facilities we have and what shape they're in and just where we're at. So I think it was a good, and I want to thank Richard again, because again, I asked a lot of questions and sometimes my opinion was better than it was, but he was a good listener and took me on and I answered all the questions I had, so it was good. So.
Okay. And I forgot that I was going to introduce Sharon Chambers, our new CEO, at the beginning of this section. That we're very glad to have you with us, and I know that you have been going over a number of the procedures that we do, trying to bring yourself up to speed as to where we are and where we can possibly move forward a little quicker. The things that you have a number of skills, that, especially the ones that were on the ad hoc committee interviewing, found out about, and that we're just really glad you're here and ready to move forward. And first and foremost, you've always been a team player, and that's what we want for our whole staff. So thank you. And this is just before we move to delegations of the clerk's powers and duties.
Actually, we still have my staff report to do
Okay,
first.
yeah.
So thank you, Reed Vincent, and I am very, very pleased to be here. I have a whole week under my belt right now, and I have to tell you, it was such an easy transition. As you know, I was a long time in South Bruce, and it's always difficult to leave a place that you love. And however, I cannot thank the staff here at North Huron enough for being very welcoming and making that transition very easy for me. They've been extremely helpful, extremely willing to help me learn as I'm taking on my new role. And I really would like to extend my thanks to them for helping me. And I'm sure I'll have a lot more questions as we go forward. I wanted to take an opportunity on my first meeting here to just give council an idea of how I'm going to orient myself on the many projects and services that you have in North Huron, because I'm finding out very quickly you've got a lot going on here. But that's very exciting to me, and I'm really looking forward to that challenge. So, as Reed Vincent said, one of the first things that I decided to do was tuck into the budget because I thought that was gonna tell me a big story about what's going on in North Huron and the projects that you have on your plate. You know, ongoing, I'm gonna be reviewing a lot of important documents and key project files, but really during my first couple of weeks, it's all about meeting with the department heads, the senior management team, and getting an overview of their departments, their operations, budget, and projects that they have on their slate. So that's been very beneficial, and had a chance to meet with Pat. And I think we estimated it was going to be about an hour and a half meeting, and it took the whole day because Pat has a lot on her plate. But that's great. She provided me with a lot of information, a lot of background on things, which is really vital to help me. So this morning I met with Dawn. We did the management review for the water system, and you'll be seeing a report coming forward at our brainstorming session on the management review. And it was a great opportunity in reviewing those documents to get a good overview of the water system. And as you know, I have some experience with that in Sudbury, so it was a very good meeting with Dawn as well. I'll be meeting with David tomorrow morning. Kathy and I have been speaking a lot on an ongoing basis, so I'm going to continue with those meetings. And once I've had a chance to meet with all of the senior management team, and I'd like to pull the whole team together and just talk about process and how we're going to function as a team. The team has told me that they are very willing to listen to my ideas on how we can make the management team work, and they're willing to adapt. And I'm very much all about bringing the team together and working out processes that are going to work well for all of us. So with that, I did want to have some discussion with council tonight, because council may have some priorities that they feel they would like to express to me, perhaps project files that you would like me to look at. I would like a chance to have some discussion as to what you feel the top priorities are. And then, as you see, I've scheduled a closed session with just council and myself, so we can have a discussion on confidential matters as well that we may see as a priority. So with that piece, did we want to have some discussion now before I move on to the next part of my report?
I think it came up last council meeting that the industrial land strategy and where we're going, as opposed to not only just Wyndham, but all other wards, East Balnash, Blythe, regards to industrial land strategy should be a priority. But in saying that, the service agreement with Morris Turnberry needs to be, I think, relooked. It needs to be taken again to see if we can come to some mutual agreement to make that a viable solution for both North Huron and Morris Turnberry to get that over the finish line, because it is a contentious issue with both councils, that we don't have an agreement, and I think we're concerned that it is going to stagnate any industrial land development in either municipality, more and Morris Turnberry. But again, what's good for them is good for us, in my opinion, and I think that really needs to be a priority going forward with regards to this land strategy.
I would agree, and as you can see from the rest of my report, that is one project that sort of bubbled to the surface immediately on my first week of work, because there was a full day of meetings scheduled with those landowners regarding the archaeological assessment process. So a number of landowners gave permission to proceed with the stage 1 archaeological assessment, and the purpose of those meetings, as you know, was to talk about properties that were identified as having potential and then requiring further study. So moving on with stage 2 of the archaeological assessment process. which would involve actually doing some test pits and possibly plowing on the property. So we wanted to have some discussion with those landowners to see if they were interested in moving forward in that process and to obtain their written permission to do so if they were interested. It was also a great opportunity for me to meet some of those landowners, although I did find that I knew a lot of them. So that was great about being very local. And also to hear their concerns early, which is part of this process of trying to get the planning process out of the way so that we have shovel-ready industrial lands if the business wants to come to town. So, you know, we heard concerns about compatibility of uses, residential uses in close proximity to industrial uses, and it's good to get those items on the table early so that we can know what our issues are going to be. But I think it was very clear that, you know, we're going to have to work very closely with Morris Turnberry and that we do need each other. That if we want to have development in this area, that we're going to have to break down those boundaries. Because any of you who were at the municipal officers meeting, I think that message came very clear on Friday that if we're going to be competitive as a rural municipality, that we can't look within our small boundaries, that we have to look as a region and in order to compete. We know that Ontario is becoming very urbanized. And so I think that it's key to be able to work with Morris Turnberry on this issue. I'd be interested on the servicing strategy from North Huron's perspective in making sure that we're recouping our costs not only for just extending the service, but what are our ongoing costs? You know, what is the cost of giving away that capacity for future development within North Huron? We need to come to an understanding, and I'd be interested to see how the study is going to address those things. You know, we have to put money away for long-term replacement of those capital assets, and are the costs that we're recouping for extending those services going to address that? So I think we've got a lot of discussion, but, and on that note, I did receive a call from Nancy Mickey today wanting to invite the Reeve and Deputy Reeve and one member of council and the CIO to have a meeting with their counterparts from West Turnberry just to discuss the next steps. So she wanted me to extend that invitation this evening and see whether we could come up with a date sometime next week to have that meeting.
Rob?
I'm in full agreement with that. I think finding an agreement with Morris Turnberry is critically important. But I think we have to face the fact that it may be impossible. We have a condition such as you just mentioned, Sharon, in terms of capital assets and the ongoing process. And they have indicated very clearly that they, under no circumstances will they contribute to anything like that. And that's been a very, very solid plan or position with them. By the same token, I, for one, am not willing to give in at all on just accepting nothing, giving away the service and getting nothing back in return, except the fee from the user. So I think while we need to work ahead honestly and fairly in terms of finding an agreement with them, I think that it's not necessary for us to wait for them before we start developing our own properties as an industrial level operation. And we can do that because we have the facilities or the utilities that we can provide. So we should not be waiting
for them to make the decision for us.
I will just add one thing, that at Blythe, we also have Central Huron as a place that may require those services too, so that we aren't dealing with one neighboring municipality. We're dealing with definitely more than one, and depending on what happens in Auburn, we may be dealing with two.
And we need to be consistent.
So that it's definitely on the radar and we're looking at it. Travis?
I would be well interested in joining that meeting if the council so chooses to let me participate. I would think, I just have a vested interest in this because it seems to me that no agreement isn't real. I think we can make an agreement. Agreements get made every day. Is everybody happy with the agreement? Not necessarily, but an agreement can be made. And I think just, my opinion, maybe having Sharon and having some new eyes, new things might be a help, so.
And something else that would be a definite help for you is looking through the meeting notes for what Scott Tuso facilitated those meetings. And that, and that, so you will have the background going in.
Well, like I was at the meeting in Belgrade, and there was a lot of things we had in common. There's a lot of interests that we had in common. To say we don't have anything in common was not reality. And I think Scott even brought that up again at the industrial land strategy. There is some common ground there. We just couldn't find a common ground in the agreement. What that means, I don't know, but I think there is some common interest there. So I think time will tell. I think time will tell. But like I said before, I think it's to put it in the back burner to Brock's and thinking that it's not may never happen. I will not sit in this chair and say nothing is ever going to happen, because I don't think that's real.
I think what he meant was there will have to be major change in the way they negotiated in, I'll say, the two meetings we had after the public meetings. The small group that met, it was CAO, myself, and Councillor Bailey from North Huron, and the equivalent people from Morris Turnberry. We came to agreement. Their council wouldn't agree to it though. So that that is something that there's other people on the council, so that we're working with a new deck, so to say, put it that hopefully calmer heads will prevail, instead of just the no, we won't pay a cent towards anything, which we were told. I think we belabored this to death right now. Ray, you have
So we
something?
need a motion here to want Travis for
Well,
be a representative along with.
whoever the council wants, that,
That's our motion.
okay, Yolanda seconded. Is there any other nominations? Is there any other nominations?
Oh, no, great. Basically, I think, Trevor, I'm in agreement that there's got to be an agreement made, we've got to move forward with this, it's gone on long enough, and too much to go with, and some sort of agreement, and so Trevor will take position.
Okay, third and final time for nominations. You've made it. Will you accept?
Yes.
you are a claimant.
Is this going to be a day meeting or a routine meeting?
What we did was 7 o'clock meetings. In
I'm
the
assuming
other
you
time,
PM,
yes,
that's fine. I'm just asking.
Nancy just asked if there could be some discussion on council about times that may be suitable. Are there any dates next week that are not suitable?
I'm okay, any evening next week, for next week.
Okay. Well, then
That's
I'll
fine,
just,
all next week is fine.
I'm gonna look into it and let you know that. So that's essentially all I have for my first report.
No, it's okay.
because information. Okay. Public gallery questions in this meeting. Denny,
Is the next meeting for the East Wallenosh, 150th set for tomorrow evening? Okay. To Ray, through yourself, Reed Vincent, can I request that you suggest the committee switching the night to not conflict with Monster Bears Council GP meetings? We'd love to attend it Tuesday nights, there's 3 council meetings with 2 of us, so.
Okay, we'll do that.
okay. Anything else from press or Joe?
After the meeting, this section of the meeting concludes, I'd like a photo.
Okay. Okay. Well, for Sharon to talk to us, we are asking for a motion that Kathy approves delegating clerk powers and duties under section 228(4) of the Municipal Act to Sharon Chambers for the closed session of council. Mover, Trevor, Bill, all in favor? Okay. Okay. Done. The council of the township of North Huron do hereby proceed. 8:44.